In 1982, Ridley Scott's Bladerunner debuted on the silver screen to mixed reviews and an underwhelming box office performance. Over the next decade, thanks to VHS, Bladerunner became one of the greatest cult classics ever, leading to its recent reboot, Bladerunner 2049. There are many conventional reasons to explain why this film became so popular, but I'm going to suggest an unconventional reason. Carl Jung suggested that all art presages coming changes in the unconscious, and Bladerunner presages our change in realizing how robotic modern man has become. The replicants in Bladerunner are a metaphor for all of us. Androids aren't real in that they have been fabricated and thus their behavior has been pre-programmed into them, which calls into question the very nature of free will. Every one of you is a rather uninteresting example of an animated automaton. You think that a soul or even a spirit is necessary to do what you do and live as you live. But perhaps it is enough to have a key for winding up the spring of your mechanism. G.I. Gurdjieff. Most human beings have nothing approximating free will, and recognizing this fact is the first step towards acquiring free will. This is because most people's identity is associated with the left hemisphere's ego, where there is no free will. In The Master and His Emissary, Iain McGilchrist explains that some schizophrenic patients experience hallucinations of being machines due to left hemisphere dominance, which reduces complex living processes into fragmented mechanistic parts. This overactivity leads to depersonalization, where patients feel robotic or made of metal, disconnected from their bodies and emotions. McGilchrist argues that this dehumanized self-perception reflects a broader societal issue of over-reliance on left-brain thinking, where both individuals and the world are seen in purely mechanical terms. The underactive right hemisphere, which provides emotional depth and a sense of wholeness, leaves patients trapped in a cold, fragmented experience. McGilchrist draws parallels between the mechanistic self-perception in schizophrenia and certain characteristics of autism, particularly the detail-oriented, system-focused thinking often seen in autistic individuals. This left hemisphere dominance can lead to difficulties with emotional expression and social interaction, as the right hemisphere's capacity for empathy and holistic understanding may be underactive. As a result, autistic individuals may navigate the world in a more mechanical manner, feeling disconnected from social cues and emotional contexts, which can contribute to a sense of isolation or being othered. Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are two high-profile people on the spectrum, and they are often made fun of for their robotic body language and speech. This is classic projection because most of the so-called neurotypical people today also exhibit characteristics seen in schizophrenia and autism, particularly lack of free will. McGilchrist points out in his book that 4 out of 10 kids today have trouble recognizing faces and emotions on faces that would have only seen in autistic children in the past. The left hemisphere continues to become more and more dominant in the entire population. The NPC meme has been very popular for years now and is just another example of projection. Anyone who calls someone else an NPC is, of course, also an NPC. And if these folks had seen their own NPC nature, they would be far more compassionate to those other so-called NPCs instead of judging them. Every NPC has a player character hidden inside of them. Everyone has Buddha nature, which is merely obscured behind the left hemisphere false self we call ego. The false self is merely acting, playing a character, so that we all have an interesting game to play. In the director's cut of Bladerunner, Deckard, played by Harrison Ford, begins to suspect that he also might be an android. This is what it feels like when you start to wake up. If he carries out all these rules while he observes himself, a man will record a whole series of very important aspects of his being. To begin with, he will record with unmistakable clearness the fact that his actions, thoughts, feelings, and words are the result of external influences and that nothing comes from himself. He will understand and see that he is, in fact, an automaton acting under the influences of external stimuli. He will feel his complete mechanicalness. Everything happens. He cannot do anything. He is a machine controlled by accidental shocks from outside. A new shock and that I disappears and a different one takes its place. Another small change in the environment and again there is a new I. P.D. Ouspensky. Whenever you're judging someone, you're doing so with the understanding that they have free will. You're assuming they're doing the wrong thing and that they could have chose to do the right thing. But free will is something that is earned, not given. So as Jesus said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do."